Good morning everyone. My name is Divasan and my group member name is Hussein Ali and Najwa Afifa. Today I want to talk about COVID-19 and anatomy and physiology of human organs. Let's see organ of immune system. The immune system will give the host more flexibility in reacting with the environment and with itself. Homeostasis management.
Immune system have two types, which is innate immunity and adaptive immunity. For the innate immunity, it is a non-specific immunity that includes external physical and chemical barriers and also internal defense. For the innate immunity, we have two line defense, which is the first line defense and the second line defense. For the first line defense, we have skin and fluid. For the second line defense, we have
So talking about the immune response. Immune response is the reaction of the body against an antigen. So here is the step one. Here is the site of the recognition for the foreign invader, which is the virus, and two types of adaptive response: cell-mediated immune response carried out by the T cells, and it steps from 3, 4, 5. And the second one is humoral immune response controlled by activated B cells and antibodies, and it's 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, the steps, and both happen at the same time.
Okay, now I want to talk about the renal immune interaction. That we know, the renal system, generally known as the urine system, is a combination of the organ that filter excess fluid and other chemical in the bloodstream. The renal system's roles include waste elimination, blood volume and pressure regulation, electrolytes, metabolite control, and blood pressure regulation. The kidneys, ureters, bladders, and urethra are all part of the renal system. Metabolic waste and excess iron, as well as water, are filtered out of the bloodstream and excreted in the urine. Now we're looking for the renin converse angiotensin proenzyme. Okay, the renin angiotensin adaptation system connects the kidney, the lungs, the liver, and the adrenal cortex. The inactive. Okay, now I want to talk about the renal immune interaction. That we know, the renal system, generally known as the urine system, is a combination of the organ that filter excess fluid and other chemical in the bloodstream. The renal system's roles include waste elimination, blood volume and pressure regulation, electrolytes, metabolite control, and blood pressure regulation. The kidneys, ureters, bladders, and urethra are all part of the renal system. Metabolic waste and excess iron, as well as water, are filtered out of the bloodstream and excreted in the urine. Now we're looking for the renin converse angiotensin proenzyme. Okay, the renin angiotensin adaptation system connects the kidney, the lungs, the liver, and the adrenal cortex. The inactive precursor angiotensinogen is produced and secreted by the liver. The kidney synthesis and release renin when the blood pressure is low. Okay, angiotensin is a convert to the angiotensin 1 by renin. Okay, and angiotensin in the lung, angiotensin 2 raises blood pressure by producing widespread vasoconstriction, which has an immediate short-term effect. Angiotensin 2 also causes the adrenal cortex to generate the steroid hormone aldosterone, which causes renal anaplas reabsorption and osmotic water recovery.
in gastrointestinal system. The organs of gastrointestinal system are mouth, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, and large intestine. It also contains accessory organs such as feet, tongue, salivary gland, liver, pancreas, and gallbladder. So how does this gastrointestinal system are associated with immune system? Basically, the wall of gastrointestinal system from lower esophagus to anal canal has 4 layers of tissue, which are mucosa, submucosa, muscularis, and serosa. In mucosa, it composed of epithelial layer and connective tissue that called lamina propria. In lamina propria, it contains mark, which is also a lymphatic nodule in the gastrointestinal tract. So this mark contains immune system cells that can protect against disease. Other than that, we also have salivary glands that secretes a fluid called saliva. So saliva play a role in washes the microbes at the surface of teeth and the mucous membrane of mouth. Saliva contains various organic substances. Some of the substances are immunoglobulin A, which helps in preventing attachment of microbes, so microbes cannot enter the epithelium, and the other substance is a bacteriolytic enzyme that acts as a bacteria killer. Besides that, stomach also associated to immune system. So stomach has 3 types of cells. One of the cells is parietal cells that produce intrinsic factor and hydrochloric acid, can destroy macrophage in the stomach. Next, the liver also associated with immune system. So liver contains hepatocytes that secretes bile. So this bile contains of several ions. So during the phagocytosis of red blood cells, it liberates iron, hammer, and globin. So in the bile, we can find iron ferritin, that is one of the iron binding protein that inhibits the growth of certain bacteria by reducing the amount of available iron.
I'll be talking about the endocrine immune interaction. Adiponectin and leptin are types of adipose hormones, and it controls the function of the immune system. Adiponectin has direct immunoregulatory activity by inhibiting the production of pro-inflammatory cytokines such as interleukin 6 and increasing the production of anti-inflammatory mediators such as interleukin 10 by macrophages and dendritic cells. In addition, adiponectin was shown to directly inhibit responsiveness and functionality of T-B and natural killer cells. Reduced adiponectin levels in circulation are associated with the development of obesity, insulin resistance, and diabetes type 2. Leptin, in contrast, has been associated with increased activity of the immune system. Leptin promotes chemotaxis of neutrophils, stimulates development of natural killers, and enhances production of interleukin 6 and TNF by macrophages. Leptin levels are strongly increased in people with obesity and increases the insulin sensitivity, and the levels of these hormones in the blood are positively correlated with the pro-inflammatory cytokines and phagocytosis. With the endocrine immune interaction, early studies demonstrated that thymopeptides can have a positive effect on the secretion of hormones from adenohypophysis. Anterior pituitary secretes thyroid-stimulating hormones, which enhances the phagocytic activity of dendritic cells. TSH regulate the production of hormones by the thyroid gland, which produce T3 that has a direct effect on the maturation of macrophages. T4, which blocks the macrophage inhibitory factor pro-inflammatory activity, and the TH have complex, and the thyroid hormones have complex effect on the development and function of the dendritic cells and macrophage and monocytes.
Okay, now we see homeostasis balance in system due to COVID-19 infection. First, we have to know about the stimulate thirst. Once COVID-19 infect our body, The ACE receptor in the brainstem bind to spike protein of SARS-CoV. Then the diencephalon get affected. After that, the hypothalamus will directly activate osmosis. Okay, now we see for the symptoms of less urination. First, the COVID-19 enter the body, and because it is a foreign body, the body will try to recognize it, then will start an immune response, which will lead to an increase in cytokine level, which is IL-2. Let's see organ of immune system. The immune system will give the host more flexibility in reacting with the environment and with itself. Homeostasis management become more flexible. SARS-CoV-2 infection causes inflammation.
Actually, the spike protein of coronavirus binds with the ACE2 receptors in small intestine epithelia. So this binding of the spike protein of virus to the ACE2 receptors will lead to the inefficiently water absorption in small intestine. So this will lead to the immune response. As a result, lymphocyte is activated and it secretes cytokines and inflammatory mediators. The cytokine storm that happen will increase the intestinal permeability and inhibiting the epithelial sodium potassium ATPase, and this will lead to the diarrhea. Diarrhea is one of the many factors that
Loss of appetite can be caused by diarrhea, metabolic problems, hypothyroidism, inflammation, which affects the body by weight loss, malnutrition. Okay, the body tries to respond to this change by decreasing its metabolism and increasing hunger hormones. Then the homeostasis of the body will be maintained. The cycle will begin when the homeostasis is disturbed, so the cycle will be repeated.
the COVID-19 infection can also lead to the bloated abdomen. So when the spike protein of coronavirus bind to the ACE2 receptor in gastrointestinal tract, it will cause an inflammation due to the immune response and secrete the cytokines in large amounts. So the cytokine storm can cause damage at gastrointestinal tract and stomach discomfort. As a result, chemokines is released, and this leads to the disturbance of gut microbiome. One of the disturbance of gut microbiome is irritable bowel syndrome, which is lead to the gastrointestinal filled with gas. COVID-19 infection can be a disturbance for the homeostasis, and this will lead to the inflammation, constipation, and irritable bowel syndrome. So all of this can lead to the bloated abdomen. Bloated abdomen is when the gastrointestinal tract are filled with gas. In order to balance this homeostasis, the gas will be passing out from the gastrointestinal tract.
So, first, COVID-19 infect the body, and because SARS-CoV-2 is an foreign invader, the spike proteins of the SARS-2 bind with the ACE2 receptors in the thyroid cells to recognize it. Then, after recognition, cytokine storm occurs, which then will trigger an immune response against thyroid follicular cells, and then causing Hashimoto's thyroiditis, leading it to hypothyroidism. Then, in the end, hypothyroidism causes weakness and fatigue for the body. So, infection, hypothyroidism, and chronic fatigue syndrome can cause weakness and fatigue. Fatigue cause muscle weakness, dizziness, chronic tiredness, decrease in energy. The body will try to recover from these effects by increasing metabolic rate and sleep hormones and decreasing in stress hormones. By this, homeostasis is restored. Once homeostasis is disturbed, the cycle will be repeated.
Let's see for the dysfunction of renal system. After COVID-19 recovery, there will be still some effect that COVID did, but won't go out from it. Kidney outcome in long COVID exhibit higher.
Post COVID-19 infection can cause a dysfunction of gastrointestinal organ. The first one is irritable bowel syndrome, IBS. Irritable bowel syndrome can lead to the persistence of abdominal discomfort, bloating, diarrhea, and constipation. The second one is functional dyspepsia, FD. Functional dyspepsia can cause inflammation in stomach and ward.
After the recovery from COVID-19, there are some symptoms and side effects that are noticed. In terms of endocrine system, there will be a change in the thyroid gland, which can be damaged in the follicular cells. The T3 and T4 hormones decreases, and the hypothyroidism can be diagnosed. The dysfunction of the HP axis can cause a decrease in the TSH hormone. Another gland that would be affected also is adrenal gland, which causes adrenal insufficiency or hypocortisolism, adrenal lesion, adrenal hemorrhage. The dysfunction of the HPA axis can cause a decrease in the ACTH. Pancreas also can be affected because of the post-COVID, causing diarrhea, and it can trigger a development of diabetes too.